At exactly 6:12 a.m. on a Tuesday, Natalie Brooks sat alone at her kitchen table, the glow of her laptop reflecting off a half-eaten granola bar. A headset rested against her ear like a permanent attachment. This was her third call of the morning, an executive in Frankfurt furious about a supposed SLA breach that hadn't technically happened. Natalie listened, de-escalated, corrected the data, and closed the issue in 10 minutes flat. Calm. Controlled. Precise. 5 minutes later, a message from the Manila liaison appeared. Onboarding forms were stuck in a broken digital workflow no one else understood. Natalie fixed that too. This was normal. For 5 years, Natalie had been the quiet engine behind Vanguard Systems' largest enterprise contract. She didn't chase credit. She didn't posture in meetings. She delivered. While other departments obsessed over buzzwords like agile transformation and operational synergy, Natalie handled real problems, client fires, compliance gaps, delivery risks, often before leadership even knew they existed. Back when the founder still ran the company, Harold Whitman once called her the safety net with teeth in front of the board. Natalie laughed at the time, but she understood exactly what he meant. If she slipped, the whole structure would collapse. Quiet control worked, until volume replaced competence. That change arrived wearing a tailored blazer and an inherited title. Logan Pierce joined the company like a press release in human form. White teeth, sockless loafers, immaculate confidence. His father, Harold's longtime golf buddy, had personally secured him the role of vice president of operations. Logan barely understood compliance, but he spoke loudly enough that people assumed he did. Natalie met him in the hallway on his second day. He was struggling to connect his phone to the office printer. "You must be Natalie," he said casually. "I hear you basically are this account." She smiled politely. They both knew it wasn't a compliment. At first, Logan was charm personified, awkward fist bumps, loud laughs, big promises. But within weeks, meetings Natalie once led happened without her. Emails went to clients without review. Process changes ignored contractual realities, as if gravity were optional. Then one afternoon, Logan referred to her work as legacy operations clutter in a company-wide Slack message. He didn't tag her. He didn't need to. People laughed. People nodded. Titles have gravity, even when they are hollow. Natalie didn't argue. She didn't react. She watched. She documented. Because silence isn't submission. Sometimes it's preparation. By the second month, Logan Pierce stopped pretending he wanted collaboration. He didn't ask questions anymore, he issued declarations. Changes appeared overnight, framed as progress and labeled innovation, even when they ignored every operational reality Natalie had spent years building. One Monday morning, Natalie logged in to find a brand new workflow tool live for her entire team. No announcement. No testing period. No integration checks. Just a Slack message from Logan with a single line, "Try this out." It's cleaner. Cleaner was a generous description. The tool lacked document version control. Escalation paths had been stripped out. Data access permissions were vague at best and dangerous at worst. Analysts spent hours just figuring out how to upload the correct files. Within the first day, 2 deadlines were missed, not because the team failed, but because the system did. Natalie flagged the risks. Calmly. Professionally. She compiled a detailed list, missing escalation steps, unsecured ARPAs, unclear ownership, and compliance gaps large enough to drive an audit through. She sent it to legal and copied Logan. He responded once. "Speed over perfection, Natalie." She stared at the message longer than she needed to. Speed over perfection was a fine slogan for a startup pitch deck. It was catastrophic advice for a multi-million-dollar enterprise contract with penalty clauses and clawbacks. Then came the email. Subject line: Operational Efficiency Phase 2. Halfway through the message, Logan wrote, "Some legacy processes remain in place due to internal resistance from team members who are set in their ways." He didn't name Natalie. He didn't have to. She was the only remaining operations lead from the original contract onboarding. Everyone knew exactly who he meant. A junior analyst messaged her within minutes. "Was that about you?" Natalie didn't respond. Instead, she opened the client contract. Because Logan had started talking about outsourcing the implementation arm offshore. 30% cost savings, he said in meetings, smiling like he'd cracked a code no one else had considered. What he failed to mention, or understand, was that the contract required a US-based escalation lead. Not a role. A person. Her name. She brought it up casually during a leadership sync. Logan waved it off. Outdated language. Legal will amend it. Natalie nodded, smiled, and sent a quiet note to legal. Subject line: Section 6.4b, named personnel. No commentary. Just the clause. After that, the erasure began. She was removed from weekly client calls. A well-meaning but inexperienced manager was sent in her place. The client noticed immediately. "Where's Natalie?" they asked. "Oh, she's focused on internal optimization," someone replied. Natalie listened from 3 floors above. The system was breaking. And Logan had no idea who had been holding it together. The first warning didn't arrive as an explosion. It arrived as silence. For years, Natalie Brooks had been the one fielding late-night emails from the client. Quick clarifications. Emergency approvals. Calm explanations when executives panicked over dashboards they didn't understand. When things went wrong, she fixed them before anyone noticed. Now, no one was listening. 3 weeks after Logan Pierce removed her from client calls, an escalation request came in at 11:47 p.m. It wasn't dramatic, just a flagged anomaly in the reporting pipeline. Under the old system, Natalie would have approved a workaround in 5 minutes. This time, the request Saturday. The offshore team didn't have permission to authorize fixes. The new manager didn't see the alert until morning. By the time someone responded, the anomaly had multiplied across 5 regions. By noon, the client's CFO was asking questions. By 3 p.m., legal was involved. Natalie watched it unfold from her desk, hands folded, inbox quiet. She wasn't copied. She wasn't tagged. She wasn't asked. She was still the named escalation lead in the contract, but operationally invisible. At 4:18 p.m., Logan stormed onto her floor. "Why wasn't this handled?" he demanded, standing over her desk like volume could substitute for preparation. Natalie looked up calmly. "I wasn't notified." "That's not an excuse." "It's not an excuse," she agreed. "It's a fact." He scoffed. "You knew there were issues." "Yes," she said. "I documented them." "You called it resistance." His jaw tightened. "This delay could cost us the renewal." Natalie nodded once. According to Section 9.2, delays over 12 hours trigger a service credit. Logan froze. "How much?" She turned her screen toward him, not dramatically, just enough. $14 million. For the first time since he'd arrived, Logan didn't have a response ready. The client call that evening was brutal. Natalie wasn't invited, but she didn't need to be. She could hear raised voices through the glass walls. She could see legal pacing. She could see Logan's confidence draining with every slide. At 9:06 p.m., an email finally hit her inbox. Subject: Urgent, need you on client call. She stared at it for a long moment before replying. Happy to help, she wrote. Please confirm authority to restore legacy workflows and direct client communication. 3 minutes passed. Then 5. Then 10. Finally, a reply from legal, not Logan. Authority confirmed. Please proceed. Natalie joined the call. The room went quiet when her name appeared. Thank God, the client said. We were wondering when someone competent would show up. Logan didn't look at her. She didn't look at him either. She fixed the issue in 12 minutes. But the damage was already done. And now, everyone knew exactly what her absence cost. The next morning, Natalie Brooks arrived early, as usual. The office was quiet, too quiet. That kind of quiet that settles in after something expensive breaks. Screens glowed with unread emails. Coffee sat untouched in mugs abandoned mid-pour. The company hadn't lost just money. It had lost certainty. By 8:12 a.m., the all-hands meeting invite went out. Mandatory. Executive attendance required. Natalie smiled faintly. She took a seat near the back of the conference room, notebook closed, posture relaxed. Logan Pierce stood at the front beside a slide deck that suddenly looked far less confident than the ones he used to parade around. His voice was sharper now, strained at the edges. We experienced a service disruption, Logan began, choosing words carefully. Due to internal misalignment. Internal misalignment. That was new. The CFO interrupted him before slide 3. Let's skip the euphemisms. We lost a $14 million renewal. The room stiffened. Logan nodded quickly. Yes, but the issue was resolved. After the damage, the CFO snapped. And after legal confirmed we ignored our own escalation structure. Eyes started drifting. Not toward Logan. Toward Natalie. The CFO followed their gaze. Ms. Brooks, he said, adjusting his glasses. You were listed as the escalation owner. Why weren't you involved? Natalie didn't rush her answer. I was removed from operational authority 3 weeks ago. Logan spun toward her. That's not what happened. She met his eyes calmly. I was excluded from client communications, approval workflows, and emergency alerts. I documented it. I have timestamps. The general counsel leaned forward. You documented it. Natalie slid a single folder across the table. No dramatics. No speech. Receipts don't need introductions. Silence followed as pages turned. Logan's face drained of color. The CFO exhaled slowly. So the failure wasn't technical. It was managerial. Natalie said nothing. Logan spoke too quickly. We were streamlining. Reducing dependencies. And in doing so, the CFO replied, you removed the one-person contractual responsible for escalation. The CEO finally spoke. Quiet. Controlled. Dangerous. Logan, he said, did you authorize these changes? Logan hesitated. That hesitation cost him more than any mistake. Yes, he admitted. But I didn't expect, the CEO raised a hand. What you expected is irrelevant. Natalie felt it then, the shift. The moment power rebalanced itself. The CEO turned to her. "Ms. Brooks, can you restore stability?" "Yes," she said simply. "If authority is formally returned." "It is," he replied. "Effective immediately." Logan opened his mouth. The CEO didn't look at him. "We'll discuss leadership accountability afterward." Natalie stood, nodded once, and left the room. Behind her, the meeting continued. But the verdict had already been delivered. And this time, Logan Pierce wasn't the one holding the pen. By the time Natalie Brooks returned to her desk, the company had already begun rearranging itself around her. Her inbox flooded with quiet confirmations, access restored, alerts reactivated, approvals rerouted. Systems snapped back into place like they'd been waiting for her return. Stability, it turned out, had a name. Logan Pierce stayed in his office. The glass walls that once framed him like a commander now made him look exposed. People passed without stopping. No jokes. No nods. Authority evaporates faster than respect, and he'd lost both. At 10:37 a.m., Natalie received a calendar invite. One-on-one, Logan Pierce she accepted. When she entered his office, Logan didn't stand. His jacket was off. His tie loosened. The man who once weaponized confidence now clung to formality like a life raft. "This got out of hand," he began. Natalie took a seat across from him. "It didn't," she said. "It followed procedure." He frowned. "You could have warned me." "I did," she replied. "Repeatedly." "You called it resistance." Logan exhaled sharply. "You knew what would happen." "Yes," Natalie said. "That's why I documented everything." Silence stretched between them. "What do you want?" he asked finally. Natalie tilted her head. "I already submitted my resignation." His eyes widened. "What?" She slid a printed letter onto his desk. "Effective end of quarter. In compliance with the contract." "You can't be serious," Logan said. "After everything, after they sided with you." "That's exactly why," she replied. Logan leaned forward. "If you leave now, this place collapses. You have leverage." Natalie smiled, not unkindly. "Leverage isn't power. Independence is." He scoffed. "You're making a mistake." "No," she said calmly. "I am making an exit." She stood. "The client has already requested to move their account with me." Logan froze. "They can't do that." "They can," Natalie said. Non-compete doesn't apply when the company breaches escalation protocols tied to revenue loss. Legal confirmed this morning. For the first time, Logan looked afraid. "You planned this," he whispered. Natalie paused at the door. "No," she said. "I prepared for it." By noon, rumors spread. By 2 p.m., the CFO called her directly. By 4:30, a competitor had extended an offer, quiet, precise, generous. Natalie declined. She didn't need another employer. She needed a clean break. That evening, she updated her LinkedIn headline to something simple: Independent Client Transition Consultant. Logan saw it. Everyone did. And in one line of text, Natalie Brooks made it clear, she wasn't leaving empty-handed. She was walking away with the future. By Monday morning, the building felt different. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just unsettled. Natalie Brooks noticed it the moment she walked in. Conversations stopped when she passed. People glanced up from screens, unsure whether to smile or pretend to be busy. Power shifts create uncertainty, and uncertainty makes people nervous. At 9:03 a.m., the official announcement went out. Subject: Leadership Update. Operations Division Logan Pierce was placed on administrative leave pending review. No goodbye email. No gracious sign-off. Just absence. Natalie read it once, then archived it. Her focus was elsewhere. 3 clients had already requested transition calls. 2 more were waiting on legal confirmation. Every conversation followed the same pattern: relief first, then honesty. "We didn't trust the new structure," one executive admitted. "We stayed because of you," said another. "When you were cut out, we started planning our exit," a third said quietly. Natalie listened. She took notes. She didn't gloat. At noon, legal stopped by her desk. "We are seeing a problem," the counsel said carefully. "If more clients follow you, this becomes a material risk event." Natalie closed her laptop. It already is. By mid-afternoon, the board convened an emergency session. This time, Natalie was invited as an observer. The CEO looked tired. "We underestimated how concentrated trust was," he admitted. "That's on us." The CFO added, "And we overestimated how replaceable competence is." No one said Logan's name. They didn't have to. At 3:48 p.m., Natalie received a message from Logan. Just one line. "You destroyed everything." She stared at it for a moment, then deleted it. Destruction implies chaos. This wasn't chaos. This was consequence. At 5:10 p.m., she packed her bag, not out of anger, not out of spite, but with precision. She labeled folders. She documented handovers. She left nothing ambiguous. Professionalism is the sharpest exit. As she headed for the elevator, she ran into Maya, the junior analyst who used to bring her emergency reports late at night. "They say you're leaving," Maya said softly. Natalie nodded. "I am." Maya hesitated. "Good," she said. "You deserved better." Natalie smiled. "So will you." The elevator doors closed. Outside, the city hummed like nothing had changed. But inside that building, careers were recalculating. Power structures were rewriting themselves. And somewhere in a quiet office, a man who confused authority with dominance was learning the difference the hard way. Natalie didn't look back. She didn't need to. The company would feel her absence every time something went wrong, and no one knew who to call. That's when they'd understand. Losing money hurts. Losing trust costs everything. 3 months later, Natalie Brooks stood in a glass-walled conference room overlooking the harbor, sunlight cutting clean lines across the table. The name on the door wasn't a company logo. It simply read Brooks Consulting. She liked it that way. Her calendar was full, but not crowded. She chose her clients now. Chose her hours. Chose her battles. Most of her work came through referrals, quiet introductions from executives who valued outcomes over ego. The old company still crossed her mind sometimes. Not with anger. With clarity. They'd survived, technically. A new operations lead had been installed. Processes rewritten. Layers added. But 2 of their largest clients never came back. The $14 million loss became a case study whispered about in boardrooms, an example of what happens when leadership confuses control with competence. Logan Pierce disappeared from the industry within weeks. No dramatic scandal. No headlines. Just silence. Natalie learned later that his name became shorthand in investor circles. "Don't pull a Logan," they'd say. Everyone knew what it meant. One afternoon, as Natalie wrapped a call, her assistant knocked lightly. "You have a visitor." Natalie frowned. "I don't have anyone scheduled." The door opened. It was Logan. He looked smaller. Not physically, emotionally. The certainty that once filled rooms had drained from him, leaving something brittle behind. "I won't take long," he said quickly. Natalie gestured to a chair. "You have 5 minutes." He didn't sit. "I made mistakes," he said. "I didn't listen. I thought authority meant immunity." Natalie waited. "I'm not asking for a job," he added. "I'm asking for advice." That surprised her. "Why me?" she asked. He swallowed. "Because you were right. And because no one else will take my call." Natalie considered him. Not the title he used to have. Not the damage he caused. Just the man standing in front of her now. "Read your contracts," she said finally. "Listen to the people who keep things running. And never confuse silence for loyalty." Logan nodded slowly. "That's it. That's everything," she replied. He left without another word. Natalie turned back to the window. The harbor was calm. Ships moved steadily, guided by people no one ever saw, but everyone depended on. She smiled. Power doesn't need to announce itself. Competence doesn't need permission. And revenge. Revenge is optional. Winning quietly lasts longer. Natalie closed the door to her office, sat at her desk, and opened a new file. Subject: next engagement. The work continued. On her terms.